Erev Tov Kibbutz Magan Michael. Good morning in Durham, North Carolina. Greetings to friends of Israel from around the world. Welcome to Sababa Sunday. Yeah, you were looking for the next big thing, and here it is, Sababa Sunday. And if that's not enough for you, we're coming back on Wednesday with Sababa Wednesday. What is Sababa? Naomi, for you, what's Sababa?
Well, when we thought of the term, we wanted an alliteration. That's where we got Sababa Sunday from. And since you and I have both lived in Israel and spent a lot of time there, I would call it a wow or an awesome or any sort of exclamation that people say in Israel when they're happy and excited about something.
I like it. Your wows, your excitements from this past year. We're in December. And we had some wow moments throughout the year. So first and foremost, let's hear where we have people calling in already from Bergen County, from Raleigh, from my good friend Gene. We have people calling in from Canada. We have of course, from Israel, and really throughout our time together, we're really going to have numerous examples to celebrate the year, to hear about what people's wow moments are, and to express appreciation. So first and foremost, let me ask everyone, in addition to putting in the chat where you're calling in from, if you want to share with us maybe what was your Sababa moment from this year? What was one episode where you felt just amazing being with us for a little bit of time? Was it Reuven taking us to Masada, like I have for my Sababa moment in the background? Is it last week's episode where we learned about the Israeli fashion industry? Was it hearing from the chief scientist of NASA Ames talking about collaboration between the Israeli and American programs? Whatever it was, your Sababa moment, we're going to share some of ours throughout the course of this 2-hour special. You believe that? We've got 2 hours of recipes. We've got 2 hours of concerts, of dance, of comedians. And I don't mean me, I mean actually people who are comedians and do this for a living. So it should be fun. And we really do want to encourage you to feel like a community. You've been here with us from Providence, Rhode Island, from Bethesda, Maryland, from Northeastern Israel, from Cincinnati, Ohio. Hello, greetings. We've got, all the makings of what us old timers call the telethon, where you get to call in and you get to share something in the chat, and maybe there's a little bit of a prize or an incentive or a competition along the way. Naomi, you were a competitive tennis player growing up. So what kind of competition you got for us today wearing your AIFL hat?
Yeah, I like any good kind of competition, whether it's tennis or anything else in my life. And I love your excitement. I think for you, every Sunday is a Sababa Sunday from what I've seen of you over the past year. So you just saw a peek into our donation slide. This is not only a 2-hour special Sababa Sunday, but also a fundraiser telethon, both today, Sababa Sunday, and this coming Wednesday, Sababa Wednesday. This whole week, we are looking to incentivize and excite everyone watching us in Israel and the United States and around the world to not only continue to watch our free programming, but also to support us and to help us continue to be able to provide this free programming to you every single week. So we love your support, we love your viewership, we love your donations, and please take the next 2 hours to consider making a gift to the America-Israel Friendship League. Whether it's online, whether it's by mail, send us a note in the chat if you want any help to make your donations, but we really, really appreciate your support. For those of you who have already given this year, we thank you. For those of you who have not yet, you have a couple weeks to do so for the rest of 2021. So you will be hearing from some of our supporters from around the country over the next 2 hours. You will be seeing a lot of snippets of some of Wayne and my favorite programs from this past year.
And even some of our embarrassing ones, right?
Some of our embarrassing, every good show has to have bloopers at the end. So please stay tuned for some insight into our embarrassing moments. We're not too afraid to show those to you. And we do, speaking of competition, want to offer a little competition to our viewers. We have 2 offers to give you over the next 2 hours. One, whoever chooses to make the largest pledge or donation over the next 2 hours will have the honor of introducing an upcoming webinar as a special host, replacing either Wayne or me sometime over the next month or 2. And we can work with you offline to figure out which webinar that is. And the second prize is you can choose the topic of an upcoming webinar. As long as it features something to do with America and Israel, it's up to you, it's your choice, and we'd love to have you participate with us in the behind the scenes webinar planning. So hopefully that incentivizes some of you. We love seeing all these comments in the chats, seeing where you are from around the world, and please let us know what your favorite webinar was from this past year, what your favorite program was, and what you want to see more of from the America-Israel Friendship League.
Well, Naomi, this is going to be a lot of fun today. It's been fun rehearsing it. It's been fun selecting. All of our team has been involved. Everyone's going to get a chance to meet people behind the camera, in front of the camera, to the side of the camera, and in our virtual studio as well. And we already have people calling in or putting into the chat. I want to acknowledge Peter, who made a donation in honor of our friend and board member for Chicago, Andrew Karai, who's going to be calling in later. So Andrew is already getting some props, and we just want to acknowledge that there are lots of different people who have been inspirations and evangelizers for us, spreading the word. We started as nothing. We started making hummus in my apartment, which wasn't that great, but it looked fine, on Zoom. So I was able to get away with it. But in the meantime, we brought real serious chefs and got to really enjoy learning some recipes that none of us had before. So Naomi, I know you've got our first segment up and ready to go. One of your favorites that you've alluded to in the past. Why don't you tell us about what we got first?
Yeah, speaking of favorite webinars from this past year, one of my personal favorites was something called East Meets West. We did it in honor of Mother's Day, and I'm a big fan of my mom and your mom do watch almost every single webinar, my mom in Boston and yours in Florida. So in honor of our mothers and in honor of Mother's Day, we featured a wonderful musical program of the Jerusalem Orchestra. It was a really, really magical, spiritual, exciting, uplifting program. A lot of you were singing and dancing in your seats or standing up. I really wanted to show a snippet of that program again, since it was one of my favorites from this past year. So please enjoy, feel free to sing and dance. You're all on mute, so it's okay. You can do whatever you want. And please enjoy.
The first song that we'll hear is actually an example exactly for that. It's a song that was, the process of it was initiated when we were surprised one day to wake up in the morning and hear that we now have peace with the United Arab Emirates and with the Kingdom of Bahrain. And the first thing that I did was I took the phone and I called an American singer, a good friend of mine called Rechela, that basically all of her career, she's a different webinar completely, but she has a very interesting story. Basically, her career is at the Gulf region. She performed in Saudi Arabia, in the Emirates, and Bahrain. And I asked her to make the contact for us. There's peace now. We can suddenly talk to each other. And we actually moved faster than the reality, because by the time that an amazing poet by the name of Ahmed bin Idris and an amazing composer by the name of Muhammad Hussein composed and wrote this song for us, we got it back to Israel. We recorded all the orchestra in my arrangement playing it. We sent it to Bahrain, where they recorded the choir and the percussions, and then Rechela came and put her crystal voice on top of all of that. And actually, the funny story about that is that we did all of this, and then when we wanted to pay the studio in Bahrain, we discovered there is still no way to transfer money from Israel to Bahrain. So I had to do it from my personal account here in Brussels, so we can find. But that's just some details. I think you can all enjoy the new sound of the Middle East as we would like to see it. This is a song called Hasbi in Arabic, meaning "Feel me."
بي وحطيت تلف بيضني لك لذيذ النوم والعين سهر ما بغيرك غدا قلبي سجين وانت فرح والشهر يتبع شهر حس بي وعطف تلف بيضني لك لذيذ النوم والعين سهر ما بغيرك غدا قلبي سجين وانت سارح والشهر يتبع شهر فاهم خطوتك لي يا سفر أسأل الأيام عنك ما تبين أنشد الغيمة ضما وانت المطر حاجة منك انت فاهم اللي ألين وانت فاهم خطوتك لي يا سفر أسأل الأيام عنك ما تبين أنشد الغيمة ضما وانت المطر والشهر يتبع شهر والشهر يتبع شهر والشهر يتبع شهر
Sababa. Naomi, thanks for starting us off with that one. For me too, it really brings back and that theme, just East meets West, has repeated itself so many times throughout our series in very different contexts. And it's really exciting as we put this together to see what are some of those motifs that repeated, regardless of who the people are we were visiting with. I just want to acknowledge Lynn from Clearwater, Florida, who said she couldn't pick a favorite from the year, but she loved the tours, the music, the dance, and the art. But what I loved about your comment, Lynn, you said you enjoyed and learned about many topics that you didn't expect to. And I think for many of us, this year and plus these past 2 years have been an opportunity to learn about topics that we didn't know about it. And we've been very fortunate at AIFL to have valued partnerships from over the years, this being our 50th anniversary. We had a lot of friends to turn to. And one of those friends was Carnegie Hall, where we have done some really exciting partnerships over the years. This year, we asked them to come up with something that we thought was appropriate for a different holiday, for Labor Day this year. We had so many concerts coming from Israel. We wanted to do something that was distinctively American, and we came up with jazz. Without any doubt, American jazz has contributed great things to the world, and its continuity with the next generation of musicians playing the great jazz masters was something that the Carnegie Youth Orchestra was able to provide for us. So take a look. Here's our next episode. This collaboration brings together some of the best of the jazz greats with the next generation of musicians. And a shout out to Casilla, who I know loved putting together this particular episode with all the different composers, as well as the people at Carnegie. So sit back and enjoy. And you can dance in your chair as well for this if you want.
Seth Finch on the piano, Nico Vaughn on the guitar, Nick Kepron on the drums. We are NYL Jazz. Thank you so much. We are going to take a brief intermission, and we will be back shortly. Thank you so much.
Wow. What a great way to start Sababa Sunday with two amazing musical performances. I see people jumping in their chair like Linda here who can't get enough of this. So thank you all for your comments. I see Eugene saying that it's hard for him to pick, just one webinar from this past year that meant a lot to him. And he said feeling part of a group all supporting similar ideals for 1 hour every weekend made the rest of the week easier for him, which is a pretty awesome response. And he also gives a shout out to you, Wayne. Apparently you knew each other many years ago, and he can see that you're loving what you're doing just by your enthusiasm every single webinar. So that's a great compliment from a friend of yours. And I see that we just received our first donation of $50 for 50 years. So thank you to our first donor.
Nice.
And I encourage all of you to follow his lead. I think $50 for 50 years is a great way to start. You could even do $100 for the last 50 years or the next 50 years, so whatever works for you. But every donation, large and small, really means a lot to us today and this week. So thank you all. And speaking of women who love music, our next speaker will be Linda Krar. Linda is a longtime friend of mine. She used to live in New Jersey when I could see her more often, and now she's up in Toronto, not too far, a short flight, not too far, but occasionally does visit New York. Linda is a member of our National Engagement Cabinet, which is a group that we also started this year of some of our wonderful partners and supporters from around the United States, all different backgrounds and interests, but really helping us to expand our webinar programming, expand our base of supporters, and expand some of our content for the organization. So Linda is a wonderful member of this cabinet. I also see that we have other members of the cabinet joining us live. A shout out to Susan Gittleson, to Ken Setak, and of course, Connie Smuckler in Philadelphia. Thank you all for joining us today. So Linda, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to get involved with AIFL?
Okay, well, hi everybody. First of all, thank you for donations that are coming in. I did start by having Naomi, who is really a crack development director, ask me for money. And so I think that was sort of the, the ticket on the way in. And then it gave me entree to meet Wayne, who's just, these are amazing rock star. The word extraordinary doesn't do it. They're rock stars. They're simply rock stars. I'm a musician, lifelong musician, member of Local 149. Love to see young people doing what they're doing, having an opportunity to play at Carnegie Hall is a mind blower. Everything that we saw today so far is really incredible. I would trade places with that bass player any minute, of course. I just wanted to say that in addition to me being a musician, I'm also a fundraiser and a philanthropic consultant for Jewish organizations and organizations in Israel. My big passion is Shenkar College, and I think you're going to be hearing from them today. Yeah.
And we saw their webinar, of course, this past week.
Yeah, we had a fabulous webinar on the fashion archives at Shenkar. It's just like amazing. I would love to be dressed from that archive. I wanted to say that when the pandemic started, and I started to say, okay, let me see what the AIFL is doing with webinars. Like, I get bombarded with stuff just as somebody inside the Beltway in the Jewish world. I started watching, and it was a travelogue, basically. Saw a lot of things that made me go, oh, well, my parents lived in Israel in the 1950s. They were survivors of the Holocaust. They came to live in Israel. I thought I knew everything because I had also, like Wayne and like Naomi, a long time association with Israel. I learned so many things that I can't even begin to say. I had a sharp pencil and a notepad with me every time there was a webinar, because I just wanted it to stick and I wanted to go and see what I missed. In the course of that, I was fortunate enough to be asked to become more involved and to have a voice and to be able to make some suggestions for off the beaten path things that I know from my life in Israel, in quotes. The thing I really wanted to say with the limited time I have left, which I think is, I'm overdoing it here. If you have not been able to travel during the course of the pandemic, like us, we had a family trip planned, we canceled the family trip. I know that myself, I had budget left over from the travel because I was not traveling. So my pledge to the AIFL is to this year and next year make the equivalent of a plane ticket to just be my little donation. Okay, so if you're out there and you didn't get a chance to go to Israel, wherever you are in North America, wherever you are in the world, pledge the cost of a plane ticket to Israel because you weren't able to go, and these folks took you there. They took you there to places you wouldn't have been able to see or know about, and now when you go, it'll be like old friends. Thank you.
Linda, what an inspiring vision for supporting this organization during this difficult time.
And that's why I love these guys, folks.
Well, we love you back. And I love this idea of thinking about these virtual journeys that we're taking each week and translating that into a trip there and the support for that. And by the way, we hope you will all go first class or at least business class. But even if you go coach class, you know, if you just sort of strap yourself to the, you know, the wing of the airplane to get over there, which is what many of us want to do, we will appreciate that gesture. And so, Linda, thanks for your involvement, for your Sababa moments with us, and for what you describe as the beaten track is really the heartbeat of our webinar series. It is, we don't try to make Israel look pretty. We're not a Hasbara organization. We're not painting a picture of an Israel that that many of us, that any of us aren't already proud to share, even as we discover new scents, new sights, new sounds, new reasons to fall in love. This is an ongoing love affair that we all have. We bring new friends along to join with us. And indeed, what better way, you know, to sort of get to the bottom line by showing people some really good smoking and grilling barbecue. So one of the things that we discovered early on is that people needed to eat during quarantine, and they needed new and exciting ways. And we know that the cuisine and the culinary arts in Israel today are celebrated not only on Dizengoff, but in restaurants around the world. And so we found a great segment this past Memorial Day where we brought together two people who you wouldn't expect to know each other and to be so friendly. One's a barbecuer in Louisiana who does it the Louisiana way, and another is in Israel and does it on his moshav, his way. He has studied, the two of them have befriended each other. And as we've discovered, our hunch on this series was when you put Yedidim, when you put sort of friends together and give them the opportunity to be real friends, those are the ties that will bind our countries together, our peoples together, and indeed peoples around the world. So let's take a look at the next segment featuring barbecue.
I can see the smoke. I think I can almost smell it.
Yeah, it's also top. Okay. You don't really need to cut it, okay? It's pulling off itself. This is one bone, two bone. Thank you.
You don't even need a knife at this point, I see.
Yeah. What is the barbecue? Okay, then it's cold. Never mind. So, that's when you asked me, right, James? Like a burger bun. You putting some of it? It's really juicy. I don't need to put any mayonnaise on that, I'm supposed to. And some coleslaw.
Yeah, that's a good portion of coleslaw. That's the kind of portion I like.
Yeah, I would go with some spice, but maybe with the crunch from the red onion.
You're guaranteed to spill that all over your shirt. It's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, I can do some more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah? All right. We got a thumbs up. James, what do you got on your end?
All right, so what Zeev told me to do here was start off with some pitas. So I'm going to take them off of the smoker. In fact, you guys don't need to see me. I'm going to tilt the camera down. How's that look? Is that good?
That looks.
So what Zeev told me to do was grab a pita, cut it in half, and create a pocket, right? Like this?
Yeah.
It's in a way, it's kind of like your sandwiches. So I'm going to put those aside for a second. Grab the lamb. And you can see it, there's juices all through here. Okay? It sits right here, and it just comes apart. It shreds apart. It looks really good. Very moist, very tender. And what I'm going to do is, you see all these juices? I'm going to pull them and put them back into those juices right there. See that? Because I want to do a pulled lamb. And one thing I noticed about it, because they have fat content, when fat's rendered correctly, it gets a little sticky, which is a good thing. Okay? So I'm going to put the lamb back in there. You see it's just coming right off. It's easy. You see mine's on the bone like this. So pull it all the way off. Look at that right there. That's a great recipe, Zeev. It looks really good.
I can
All right,
smell
it. So let's get that out there. There's a tendon. We'll pull some of this meat off. All right, so I'm gonna I've got a bunch here. I'm only gonna pull one for the sandwich. So what I'm gonna do is now.
That's right. You can send the rest over to me. That's fine.
Yeah. So what I'm doing now, I'm gonna toss it in the liquid, correct? Then, since there was no salt and pepper inside of the recipe,
now you need to put it.
We'll put a little bit over the top, a little salt, a little pepper, black pepper, okay? Now, Z, this is one thing in fact, I don't think you told me about this, but I'm going to go ahead and squeeze a little lemon juice on mine.
Yeah,
little lemon.
that's a good idea.
Okay. And since we're dealing with a smaller pita, all of these toppings, can I just put them on here and then stuff that into the pita? Would that make sense?
You start with the meat.
Okay.
You put it on one side, and then you put some lettuce, some onions. Each one put whatever he wants.
This is a really juicy piece. All right, so look, that's stuff right there. Yeah. And then on top of that, I've got a little mint.
No,
dried mint.
Put it. Sure. You can take it on the. Let's say it like this. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Take the meat for one side. Take the meat for the one side inside the pizza. Take the meat down, and then you put the lettuce and everything on top of it, and then you.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Well, after that, I've got. Well, so I could just top it like this, like a sandwich, correct?
Yeah.
I could lay a couple onions over the top. That's too many onions. a couple hot peppers. Okay. And here's the tahini sauce you told me about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
The tahini will give you the lemon that you put.
Yes, sir. And then I'm gonna go a little lettuce over the top. How's that?
That is beautiful.
And some more tahini. There's no such thing as too much tahini.
I got you. I'm gonna put a little more over the top then.
Right.
All right, so it's time to bite it, correct? Let me take this. I'm gonna pack it down.
What'd he say? Another thumbs up. All right.
Hold on, let me wipe my mouth.
That's right. You both were entitled to enjoy each other's dishes. Everyone that's looking at this is saying it looks amazing. We have a new twist on the old proverb: when life gives you lemons, put it into your tahini, and then put it in your tahini on top of your barbecue you're making this weekend.
Yeah, tahini always goes with the lamb.
Tahini with lamb. So, look, we know that not everybody's got a smoker in their backyard, but certainly Zeev and James, you showed us some of the magic that you do in your restaurants day in, day out. I know this was a tough year for everybody. That's how we got to know each other, from our own home kitchens, hearing recipes, talking to one another, getting to hear our stories and our influences. What you shared with us today and your friendship that has continued through this challenging year is itself a testament to your restaurants, your love for cooking, your love for barbecue, and this idea that we could actually share with each other, because that's what friends do. That's how we learn about one another. So I just want to give each of you a chance to share, just your final words and greetings for Memorial Day here, and really to look forward to an opportunity where we can celebrate together and cook together and eat together, the kind of things that we do among friends. So, James, any last words?
I know one thing. I wanted to keep eating that pita. That was unbelievable. I wanted to keep eating and just let y'all talk. Hold on one second. I'll let you guys talk. Steve, that was a great recipe. It was really, really good. A ton of flavor. Like I said, I'm still gonna eat the rest of it whenever we're off. And I have plenty more lamb and plenty more. I have all kind of stuff. I'm gonna share it with the employees too.
Oh, awesome! Yeah. That's a great way to spread the love. Zeev, you're going to share tonight with any of the guests what you cooked up for James?
It's not. I don't have a lot of it, but some, maybe the first 10 of them, they're gonna taste it. I'm gonna tell them what it's about, what's the difference. And I want to say thank you very much. It was an honor to be invited to this, and everybody are more than welcome to look in my Instagram. It's called Amashana. It's easy to find it in English, and everybody is more than welcome to Israel. We're just about to open the sky. We're done with the COVID, and see you next time.
Fantastic. So remember, if you can be a half hour north of Tel Aviv, you want to check out Hama Shanad. You want to be at the smoke.
So if you're coming to Israel, you want to check
We're coming. You may need
whenever you're coming, you need to check it.
You're going to have to find out from James how you serve 2,000 pounds of meat when we come in large force, because the food looks good. And anyone who's in New Orleans that can look up and see the Superdome knows they're only going to be a few blocks away, 8 blocks away from Central City Barbecue. We want to make sure you come visit James and see if he still has some of that tahini around that he could put on some of the barbecue as well. Great to meet and spend time with both of you guys. Thanks for making this a memorable Memorial Day here in the United States, and to our friends around the world. We will be sharing the recipes. We promise we will send these out. That's because Zeev and James have made them available.
Well, for me personally, it's pretty dangerous to watch people grilling and cooking during lunch hour. So I get a little hungry when we do these cooking webinars, but hopefully we can all get some of that great food after this 2-hour special. Wayne, I know you became sort of a master chef at home during COVID. I did not get so lucky. I'm not a great cook, but watching these people cook definitely was inspirational.
And we definitely had plenty of opportunities for our vegetarian friends on all of the cooking episodes except for the grilling one. But so we promise to share more of that as well as part of our shows.
Yes, Israel is known for its wonderful vegetarian and vegan food, so we will not forget about you vegetarian and vegans out there for future webinars as well. And the next friend I want to introduce is a new friend of mine, Paul Romness, not too far away from Wayne in Arlington, Virginia. Paul came through actually one of our board members, Andrew, and he just hit the ground running, already hosted his first parlor meeting at his beautiful home in Arlington, Virginia. We're planning our next parlor meeting with him at a country club also this winter in Arlington. And he's already joined our development committee. He's really become a wonderful advocate, and he was able to come to our gala last month in New York at the Plaza Hotel. So Paul, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Naomi. And thanks, Wayne, for doing that right before I present with the barbecue, because this doesn't happen by accident. I actually do a lot of cooking. I'd love to do a little cook-off with you, Wayne, sometime over here. So
you're on. Anytime.
Naomi, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to talk with you all. As Naomi mentioned, I'm on the AIFL development team, and Andrew Karai, it's kind of an Andrew Karai love fest today, but he got me involved in this, and I'm very happy that he did. I think Naomi shared, and Wayne and I are in DC. My family, my wife, my two girls, my older daughter's at UVA, my younger daughter's at Tulane, and I want them to be global citizens. And I really believe in the power of education. I was blessed enough to be in Belfast, Ireland, soon after peace broke out there. And it was just really impressive to me because having grown up my entire life, and for many generations, people said that Ireland would never be peaceful. And I feel that way about Israel. It can be. But it's AIFL that helps us with that, because I think it's important to learn each other's cultures. So that's why I dove in. And Naomi, I'm going to give you a commitment of $500 for today. I really expect all these 125 people to join in. We can hit some really big numbers. And as Linda said, I do a lot of fundraising myself, but you know, it's those incremental gifts that are really important to getting a good sum of money in for this dial-in today. So as Naomi and Wayne said, we hosted a reception at our house on June 21st. I really wanted AIFL to get back in person. I think y'all have done a phenomenal job with the Zooms, but I also just wanted people to interact in person. We were lucky enough to have one of my wife's former professors from Georgetown, Dr. Ralph Nurenberger, come and speak about the elections, not the elections in the United States, but the prime minister elections had just finished up in Israel. And having lived and grown up in DC my entire life, I thought our political system was rather mixed up. It's clear that Israel has some interesting associations between the parties, and Dr. Nurenberger was great in sharing with us the complexities of how that coalition came together. And interestingly, to build on that, we will be doing a reception for a large number of folks, potential new members of AIFL, hopefully in February, with the new ambassador, the United States ambassador to Israel. And so for those of you that are around the DC area or would like to come in for it, we'll try and get the date out to you a little ahead of time so you could plan it. And if you have friends in DC that are either involved or not involved in AIFL, it'd be great for you to invite them. So thank you for this opportunity. Please give to AIFL. I'm very proud to be involved, and thank you very much, Naomi and Wayne.
Paul, thank you so much. That really touched me that you made that extra donation. It's really, really meaningful, and you've already been a supporter. So adding to that is really, really thoughtful and generous of you. And not only as a donor, but as a host multiple times over, and you've brought in some of your friends to get involved with the organization as well. So thank you so much for your support and for making the time today, and for introducing us to your wonderful family and friends in DC. You see the donate slide right now. I see donations coming in. Thank you, Gabe, for your donation of $18 for Chai. Thank you, others of you who have been asking us for our mailing address and other ways to get involved with us. Please feel free to donate either online or by mail, and follow the lead of our other wonderful supporters around the country. So speaking of wonderful supporters, I want to next talk a little bit about another new program that we started the past year called the Local Area Networks. Local Area Networks is something that we started during COVID, because normally I'd be traveling around the country, you know, speaking at different events, meeting with our constituents in their different communities. COVID obviously put a stop to that temporarily. So I wasn't able to go visit Paul and our other friends around the country. We had to start doing things virtually. So we started building communities around the country, and we've now built more than a dozen local area networks around the country. We've hosted parlor meetings everywhere from Long Island to Chicago to LA to to Virginia, and everywhere in between. And we've gotten to know many new and existing friends as a result of that virtually. And as Paul said, starting to host things in person once again. So I wanted to share a clip from one of my favorite parlor meetings that we've hosted this past year. One in my hometown of Boston, Massachusetts. We had several dozen people joining us virtually from Boston to listen to Jody Tatiana Charles, who's a wonderful alumna of one of our women's delegations to Israel back a couple of years ago. Jody is, you'll hear in her testimonial here, a very, very strong and powerful advocate, not only for Israel, but for the America-Israel Friendship League. So please listen and watch her. And I think it'll get you a little riveted and revved up to go back to Israel soon yourselves.
I'm Catholic. I'm first generation born in America. I'm from Haiti. There's not one Haitian that hasn't been to Israel because we go to Jerusalem. I mean, and there's like so many individuals that rave and rave and rave. So I'm like conflicted where you have all the Haitians that are like, oh my God, you have to go. And then you have all the individuals that I've worked with in the media that they're like, oh my God, the fear. And they're Jewish. And I'm like, you know what? I have to get more involved with the culture. So I'm marketing. I'm a marketing strategist. I've worked in the media. I've worked with the governor. I was a press secretary. I have worked with startups. Startups are my babies. And startup community is Israel. It's all Israel all the time. And so everyone that knew me from working with startups, they're like, how is it possible that you work with startups and not with Israelis? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I just don't know. So as they were coming in and Mass Challenge, the organization that I love, I adore, I'm part of, they partnered with the Crafts, and the Crafts partnered with Israel, and we started getting more and more Israeli companies into Boston. And I went out of my way to say, like, this is a group that I want to work with. I want to understand why Israelis are known for being the startup nation. Like, what makes them so unique? Number one, holy moly, you guys are tough as can be. Tough, challenging in every single way, which is amazing because in the United States, startup is very complacent. Everyone just assumes everyone's a Facebook or a Google or Amazon, and they don't understand where and why it started. And when you're in Israel, you're really getting it. When you have that military background, when you have that innovation background, when you have that I know I want so much more background, when you have that our entire history was wiped off the face of this earth, and we are rebuilding, and we're rebuilding times 20. You understand the mentality of why you want to understand, engage, and embrace the Israeli community. So I started working with a lot of Israeli communities. I started working with a lot of organizations that were funding Israeli startups and businesses. And I was very, 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 very lucky to be chosen as one of the influential women that has been supporting the Israeli community, the Jewish community, for quite some time throughout my entire 30-year career. Yes, I look like this, and I'm like 51 years old. And yes, I'm older. I just don't look it like, yay, mom and dad. But I love the fact that for years and years and years, I've been working with this Israeli community, and I love everything that's coming out of the Jewish community, the Israeli community. Now, what I didn't know is once you go, and I think we're all blinded by this, where when you're at home in the States, you hear, you see, etc. But when you're in the country, it's a whole opening of your eyes. And boy, oh boy, was my eyes open. When people are hanging signs on their door saying, diversity, we're all about diversity, everyone mixes, I'm like, you know what? You just don't get it until you're in Israel. In Israel, diversity is real. All shades, all sizes, all religions, everyone coming together and cohabitating. And I'm telling you, every morning I went for a run. Every morning I went for a run, and I was like in awe, taking pictures, and everyone's like, where are you? Where are you? And posting it on all my social media platforms. And I'm like, I'm in Israel. This is what I'm seeing. These are all the people. These are all religions. I mean, it was fascinating, and no one was afraid to talk. They're like, they'd see me running. We're like, I go, who's this crazy lady that's running? Because I mean, I'm early bird. Breakfast was at a certain time. I had to go out for my run, and I would stop and talk to everyone, and everyone talked. Everyone was A-okay with having a communications and literally telling and sharing their stories. And so there's one picture that I had that I love so much where I was during Ramadan. It was Thursday. I go and I was in a corner where I saw a Greek Orthodox. I saw a Hasidic Jew, and I go, and then I'm probably using the wrong terminology, but in the States we say the Hasidic Jews. And then there was an individual that was running to the mosque for Ramadan, and I'm like, come on now, this is like that joke where what do you see when you see this, and this person together? It was the corner of the street where I took a picture because I couldn't even believe how when everyone says no one gets along in Israel, I'm like, you have not been. You have not been. So you can't say that. And I agree wholeheartedly. The dinner was by far the piece de resistance, where you are at someone's home and you're engaging in dinner and you have the entire family there and you're having deep conversations and they're not afraid to ask anything and everything. And even just the humor where it was a really, really hot day, super hot day, and they were in a rush trying to make sure that dinner was amazing, and we're all there and we're just melting and we're just sweating. And I'm like, so is it me, or did you guys not put the AC on before? And they're like, we can't touch anything. I go, so if I walk to your AC and push the button, is that allowed? And they just bursted out in laughter thinking, oh my God, we love you because we're hot and we can't touch the AC. And so those moments of just being with a family and being part of that family and feeling like your family. And to this day, I've gotten wedding photos. I've gotten birth announcements. I go, we sit there and talk on WhatsApp. And I go, even our tour guides, we are a family. It's not a joke where you're sitting down and just having a moment of time. You're really having a great time and you're part of a family and they're part of your life and they're not letting go because there was a connection.
Well, if there's anyone that has witnessed those kind of rants of joy, it's my colleague Ruby in Israel, who, even though it's always later in the day when we get to see her because of the time difference, it's never too late for Ruby. It's never too early for Ruby. She greets people at Ben Gurion. She sees them off. She continues these relationships over many, many, many years, and it's like just a blessing and a mitzvah mission that she has conducted for years and years and years. Ruby, when you hear a story like that from Jody, who came on a delegation of influential women, which I know is one of the delegation areas that you're so proud of. You know, what does it mean to you, and you know, seeing this love continue to grow and grow and grow?
This is my reward, Wayne. Actually, you know, having thousands of people that I've hosted here in Israel on behalf of AIFL for over 30 years, and knowing that there are people like Jody all over, so happy and so excited about their visit to Israel, having the feeling that I sent such great ambassadors for Israel back to the United States is my reward.
All right, so I know we had the pleasure of actually getting together. We didn't know if it would happen, and you know, just like in the picture on Masada here, the light shined through just long enough for us to safely congregate together, and
this was really exciting.
2 presidents together to watch and see what the AIFL is. So tell us a little about the next segment we're going to get to see.
Okay, the next segment will be a movie we prepared for our gala dinner, which took place last month in New York. And we honored both President Bush and President Reuven. This was, for me, such an exciting event because after 50, I'm on board around 30 years, but after knowing that the organization is here in Israel and in the US for 50 years, and making this event happen in between waves of COVID and bringing the 2 presidents in person was really a great excitement, a wonderful event. The movie that you are just going to watch is the movie we prepared about our activities, about AIFL activities. For 50 years, it's a few minutes movie that actually brings the message to you. So I hope you'll enjoy it.
Profound bond, collaboration, mutual enrichment, and shared values connect Americans and Israelis together.
For over 50 years now, the America-Israel Friendship League has been building bridges by connecting Israelis and Americans of all backgrounds. This is an organization that has recreated itself while still staying very true to the vision of its founders.
America-Israel Friendship League strengthens the bonds of Israelis and Americans, brings to life the amazing parts of both countries, tech innovation, cultural happenings, and even political and historical events. At a time last year when neither Israelis nor Americans could travel, the American-Israel Friendship League brought Israel to the United States and vice versa through its technology platform.
As the COVID-19 crisis struck across the globe, AIFL instantly recognized the great advantages of its newly developed people-to-people online platforms.
We have pivoted and upped the ante. With over 1.5 million viewers worldwide that have come to learn about the common foundations of the people of both of our countries, our parlor meetings that are providing a personalized deep dive, our youth programs that are connecting the next generations, and our Moonshot Yati program that is bringing together future scientists.
AIFL's new series of webinars, streamed twice a week, Connecting Americans and Israelis from Their Homes, features both thinking and doing activities. These include cooking, yoga and Pilates classes, concerts with jazz, opera, classical and hip-hop music, high science and high tech, virtual museum and archaeological site tours, leadership programs, and much more. The professional, organized, interactive productions offer a wealth of options, which attract viewers of all ages and backgrounds. Countless webinar leaders from Europe to the United Arab Emirates and from the U.S. to Israel have included leading figures from Mikhail Baryshnikov to Jeff Garland, and from President Isaac Herzog to former Deputy Prime Minister Tzipi Livni. Inspired by the time-tested Youth Ambassador Student Exchange programs, AIFL created the Youth Ambassador Technology Exchange, a virtual summer program for Israeli and U.S. high school students. One of the highlights was a guest lecturer from the United Arab Emirates, who spoke about her contribution to the Mars Space Probe mission. B-Teens connects teenagers based on a peer-to-peer engagement model that leverages the social media skills unique to Generation Z and generates fun discussions focused on shared interests and values.
We're the counselors of B-Teens. I'm Kyle. I'm Saban. I'm Leif. I'm Leah. I'm Libby. And I'm Vienna. We've heard this year is the 50th anniversary of the organization. And we wanted to take a moment to appreciate and celebrate this special occasion.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to create our beautiful international youth program and be our authentic selves.
We hope that together we've created something great that will continue to grow with time.
Here's to another meaningful 50. From all of us at B-Teens. Cheers. L'chaim.
In an effort to expand its sphere of impact, the AIFL has expanded its powerful platforms in numerous fields of interest, such as the Local Area Network Parlor Meeting Series, both virtual and in-person events that attract participants who are new to the AIFL. Each year, the AIFL sends numerous leadership delegations to Israel, introducing Americans from various fields to Israel's achievements.
I believe in what the motto of the United States is, e pluribus, from many, one. And the Israeli spirit and the American spirit are very similar, committed to this ideal of inclusion, an ideal of innovation, an ideal of a democracy. And so having this bridge between two great nations, it's invaluable.
Being here has been tremendously helpful to my understanding of all of the issues that Israel faces.
The AIFL's delegation activity, which was suspended due to the pandemic, will return as soon as travel and health protocols allow.
As we celebrate the AIFL's Golden Jubilee, we look back with great pride at its achievements, and we look forward with great hope and belief that it will continue to be the real guardian of Israeli-American relations and continue to make sure that they are strong, steadfast, and flourish.
Wow. I love seeing that video. We saw that for the first time during the gala, which Andrew, I know you attended. It was your first in-person gala along with mine. And it was wonderful to finally meet you in person after months and months of getting to know you virtually. I got to know Andrew at the beginning of COVID. We actually met on LinkedIn of all places when we were all still virtual, and we got to be friends, and eventually he joined the board of the organization, and now he's actually the youngest member of the American Israel Friendship League board as a young 34-year-old or so, based in Chicago, soon to be moving to Dallas. So Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about what led you to get involved with the AIFL and what your involvement is with us right now?
Yeah, no, thanks for that warm intro, Naomi. And thanks to you, Wayne, Jonathan, and the entire team and all the outstanding work that you do for AIFL. I joined the board in June of last year. I met you, as you mentioned, Naomi, virtually. I mean, I had thought about getting involved in pro-Israel philanthropy for a number of years, looked at different organizations. And I think, the more that I got to know you and Wayne and the team and all the great work that AIFL is doing, whether it's sending delegations out to Israel, obviously during COVID, pivoting quite brilliantly to more of virtual webinars and educational events. I really enjoyed the Chaim Weitzman event that you did with your dad. I thought that was incredibly well done. And I think a lot of people have kind of really hit the nail on the head. I mean, really, what this organization does is it really supports a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. I would say in modern times it is the most important cross-border relationship that exists. And it really just, shows people all the wonderful things that are happening in Israel, all the economic development through technology, medicine, all the great cultural, elements and shared values that both countries have. And I strongly encourage, and thank all on the call today who have donated. It's the 50th anniversary of this great organization. The leadership team has done an outstanding job. And I met you, Naomi, in fact, not too long after you had joined yourself, and just seeing the excitement with you and Wayne and what everybody is doing with this great organization, it's really inspiring. I couldn't be more proud to be a member of the board. I've enjoyed, the gala that we had last month, but also all the other events that are going on too. So thank you for all that you do, and for all of our great donors out there. It's truly an honor to be involved and a member of the board and co-chair of the development committee as well.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Andrew, thanks for being with us. It's great to see you, man. It seems
Same
like
here.
all we have to do is say there's an AIFL something. You're going to get on a plane or a train or a cab or no matter what it takes. So we love we love all the energy and enthusiasm you brought to us this year.
Well, and thank you too. I mean, I think, the enthusiasm is infectious, right? I mean, I think I see all the great work that you guys are doing. I love the mission. I love the idea of doing whatever we can to strengthen the relationship, between Americans and Israelis. And the more people that we can bring into that fold, the better it is for all of us and for our world. So again, thank you for all that you do. Truly an outstanding, an outstanding team, and it just keeps getting better and better. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Naomi, at the risk of stating the obvious here, it's after the hour and we still exist. We're still going.
Oh yeah.
We're not going to stop, right?
No, we never stop. This is our longest webinar yet. Why stop at 1 hour when you can do 2 hours? People seem excited. They're responding. We're getting calls, texts, emails, people in the chat making their donations, their pledges from $18 up to $500. Thank you for whatever amount you're able to give today. Every single dollar makes a difference for us.
Absolutely. And as a special gift for everybody that's stayed with us for the second hour now, we're going to start the next segment with one of the true rock stars of this web series, our good friend Reuven Solomon. He's been with us through thick and thin, and hopefully you'll get to meet him in person soon on one of his tours while you're able to visit Israel. But in the meantime, look at all the places that we've visited. So we've decided to take a segment from one of those, and we want you to escape to the Arava. I mean, just think about that, the serenity and the beauty of both nature and the vision of the South. We couldn't actually even fit it into one episode. We had to make 2 episodes out of it. So we'll turn it up here and after share with you some direct reflections from our master tour guide, Reuven.
But on the way through, right in the middle of that rectangle, adjacent to the Jordanian border, is what we call the Central Arava, where this enormous undertaking of agriculture, very advanced agriculture, is taking place today, sometimes very surprising. On the next map, you shall see what I mean by Central Arava. On the next slide, you'll see here that in the middle of the area that you saw in the rectangle, taking up about half of it, leaving the southern part of the Arava below and the northern part of the Arava above, out of it. But here are the major kibbutzim and agricultural settlements that raise 900 families, raising, as I said, 60% of all of Israel's export of fresh vegetables and fruit, and 10% of her cut flowers. And this is an area that is hot and dry, not too much rain, and the water they have is tapped board water that is saline, so they have to desalinate it and to use it, and able to even grow in this water with hydroponic method of agriculture. It's absolutely amazing, and we'll continue with the next slide to take a little drive through this area, the central Arava, that look at how bleak it is, and all of a sudden you see green on the sides. We've just left the southern portion of the Dead Sea, and now we're heading south towards Eilat. Now, a lot of the area is what you're looking at now. Barren, sandy, dry, and all of a sudden, here and there, an acacia tree. Incidentally, the acacia trees are invaders from the Sudan, the savannas, and they actually, in this area, is the very furthest northern point that they can survive in. So we have acacia trees all the way up to Masada. But all of a sudden, you'll see the green on both sides of the road as we pass by some of the settlements, kibbutzim and moshavim, townships, that are on the way, that are producing incredible quantities of organic, most of them, organic fruit and vegetables. And the range produced here is absolutely amazing. From fruit trees that you would not think could possibly grow here. Most of the fruit trees, of course, are date palms, but there are also pears, citrus, even vineyards with grapes, even organic wine produced here, and peaches, plums, apricots. The variety is absolutely astounding. And then you leave these past one township. I'm not using the word settlement in any political sense. This is Israel proper that we're in. I'm talking about agricultural villages. And you can drive through an area that we just drove through, very arid, very plain, desert. And then once again, you come across a stretch of hothouses, of date palms, grown date palms. And I just want you to pay attention now to how long a stretch on your right-hand side is agricultural. In this area where there's a sad lack of water, the water they have to get out of the ground. And we drive and drive and drive, and there are more and more hothouses, more and more orchards of if you look on the left here and there, orchards of dates and other trees, and also organic hothouses growing lots of pepper. In fact, 50% of the growth of the land is used for the raising of peppers in capsicum, some people call them, in the Arava Valley. And there's not a single Israeli who hasn't eaten Arava peppers because they're the best and they're plentiful. And I'm sure you also have them in your supermarkets because, as I said, 60% of the fresh vegetable export comes from here. And we're talking and still going past more and more hothouses, more and more fields of agricultural growth. And it's absolutely amazing in an area that is so barren that so much can be done. So how is it done? How do they do it? Well, first and foremost, in the central part of the Arava, there are 7 R&D establishments. Each one of them, we're going to have a quick stop here for a coffee before we continue, because this is a very special stop for bathroom pit stop, coffee, maybe a little bit of dessert or whatever before we continue on our journey. The 101, which is really a cute stop because it's got a lot of animals kept there. It's got a snake museum and lots of eats and treats. But that's not why we stopped here. We stopped here for a pit stop and for me to tell you that on the continuation of our journey, you're not going to be driving any further. You're not going to be driving with me any further. I'm going to magically take you from one stop to the next. But before we do that, we're going to show you what the Arava Valley has done. The picture on the left you see is one of the early Enyahav agricultural settlements in the later 60s. And you can see when there was nothing around how they were already setting up the infrastructure. And on the right-hand side, you can see the way it looks today. The housing, the agriculture, and the stretch of land making use of what anyone would think, at first view, useless land. And yet, it's producing amazing results. We're going to show you some of the produce in the following slides. And I want to tell you that, one of the trademarks of the Arava agriculture is organic and bio-organic growth with using hydroponics, but this is of course not hydroponics. These are growing in soil. But how do we control pests? They don't use insecticides, certainly not synthetic insecticides. The amazing story of biological warfare, the good type of biological warfare, is being fought in the Arava.
It was great to be with Reuven at the kilometer 101 for a little pit stop there and coffee break. But we also have a special treat now that brings you Reuven from his current abode with a special message for everybody joining us today.
Shalom, a very warm welcome to the first America-Israel Friendship League webinar telethon. Since the beginning of AIFL's regular webinars, more than 1.5 million special viewers have enjoyed the wonderful programs that the AIFL has provided free of charge. Over the past year and a half, I've had the pleasure and privilege of taking a few of you on virtual tours all over Israel. I love sharing my beautiful country and some of its many unique attractions with you. It was heartwarming to read and to hear your comments and questions that showed me your interest in my beloved country, and I'm looking forward to continuing touring with you in the coming year, hopefully actually and not only virtually. Your financial support is needed to continue offering these virtual tours and the many other great programs free of charge. So please make a contribution to the AIFL today to celebrate this milestone 50th anniversary Golden Jubilee year and to help provide quality programs free of charge for all our friends. Mazel tov to all my friends at the AIFL in Israel, America, and beyond. Ad 120.
Naomi, that was a nice birthday present from Reuven, and but I'm seeing in the chat lots of people sending in some love.
Yeah, I see a lot of people donating. I want to give quick shout outs to some of our recent donors. We see Tali Ann Katz has made some contributions. We see Sheila Firestone, Paul Romness just donated, Freddie Novin donated a couple times, Gabe Gershowitz, Ariella Lovitz, many others are donating. And again, I see some people writing to us that they're going to be sending in checks and asking us how to do so. So here again is the slide for those of you who have asked how to donate. Again, we welcome your donations not only for the next 40 minutes of this telethon, but for the rest of the year. So thank you for continuing to support us. And as Reuven said, all of our programs are free for all of you. We really want to keep them free, but we do need your support to keep those programs active and free of charge for all of you. So thank you so much for your support.
Thanks, Reuven. Thanks, Naomi. Thanks, Mom. Everybody. We love the love. We love your appreciation. We love you participating with us throughout this year, and particularly now during our telethon. So this next segment that we have coming up for you is a smorgasbord of some of our favorites. They will be short clips from some of the famous faces who greeted us and participated in our panels over this past year. They include Olympians, and they include scientists, and they include comedians, and they include famous dancers, choreographers, all of the above. So enjoy this segment. Our team had a fun time putting it together, and you'll get let's call it a smorgasbord, since we've had a lot of food so far. And this will be a visual smorgasbord of some of the great segments that we had from the past year. Enjoy.
You get a lot of scripts and a lot of leads on potential stories that could be told. Like, how did you know that this was a story, that this was the time to tell it, and when did your involvement with the project start?
So Roberta and I met when I was producing Above and Beyond, and I met her and asked her if she would direct it. And we were such an incredible partnership. And as we were filming that and we were on location, she was on the phone with people in Poland constantly, developing this other project. And she had told me about it. And, in the beginning, I was a little hesitant because, people say they hear Spielberg, they think Schindler's List, and I think, oh my God, I can't fill those shoes, and maybe I don't want to go there. On the other hand, I also was learning from Roberta's stories about the Holocaust that I didn't know, because I grew up with very little knowledge of the Holocaust. And in the end, it was really my honor. Roberta and I talked about whether I would come on board. So I came on board mostly raising money. Roberta is the writer, director, producer. It is what runs through her veins. And she was so immersed in it. So I could do what I could to support that and move that forward. So she was on location in Poland for a very long time. I showed up for 5 days. I got the easy job, but I, have to raise the money because these are done as not-for-profit. So that's actually not an easy job. So
who are already just exploding with questions and exploding with enthusiasm for this topic. But
can I also say something? The idea that anyone's exploding, I think you're building this up too much. No one at any point is ever exploding with questions. I don't think that phrase has ever been used. Hey, I'm exploding with questions this morning.
I've had a lot of coffee already, Jeff. So for me,
oh, hi, Wayne. That's how I'm here.
Okay, good.
The magic of coffee.
Hello,
everyone, and Shalom Aleichem. I'm sorry I can't participate directly in the webinar, but I am so happy to say a few words in support of Vertigo. Vertigo came to our center in New York 2 years ago and truly stunned audience with their passion, their originality, and sincerity of purpose. I was completely overwhelmed by it. Now, in these strange and difficult times, I believe we need the uplifting effect of the arts more than ever. Vertigo is a perfect ambassador for this message, and I look forward to welcoming the company back to New York with open arms and open theaters. Until then, Noah, Adi, Rachel, and all the dancers keep creating and giving us all hope. Stay well, everyone, and many good wishes from all of us at BAC.
Between Israel and the world Jewry. Maybe the old dialogue was something about we are here as a safe shelter in case of anti-Semitism, and you will support, contribute, and do whatever the world Jewry did during all these years since the establishment of the State of Israel. But my feeling is that while the grandparents cried with joy when the State of Israel was established and their children were horrified when Israel was under attack, sometimes there's a feeling that maybe the third generation, the grandchildren, feel sometimes alienated to the State of Israel. For them, the State of Israel is a strong state. It's the existence of the State of Israel is not being questioned. But yet we need to open this new dialogue and to speak about substance, to speak about what does it mean to be a Jewish democratic state. By the way, I believe that this is a dialogue that needs to be opened also in Israel, but yet it is of utmost importance to speak about it between Israel and different Jewish communities all over the world.
Such an exciting day like today, and congratulations to everyone who made this day happen. It's interesting because I feel like even though so much of my career has been in technology that's always so forward thinking and what's coming next and what's 10 years in the future, my Jewish identity and connection to Israel has really grounded me in the opportunity to always understand and focus on the past in order to know where you're going. And I think that's something that for me as a tech executive has always been so important. So about almost a decade ago now, I led a group of tech CEOs and executives like Birthright for CEOs to Israel. And the one thing that I really wanted a lasting connection with the country, because so many times you travel and you love it while you're there, and then the memories fade when you come home. And so the stipulation was we would cover all the costs of the trip, but everyone had to make at least one angel investment in a company they met in Israel while they were there, so that they would come home and have a connection to the land and to a business, because that's what will keep you connected for years and years, establishing a business relationship. And it was magical what we saw. The executives, no one just invested in one company. People came back with portfolios and connections. And so when my business partner, Jared, who's sitting there, came to me with the idea, Jared Cash, who of establishing a venture fund that would help really foster that connection between Silicon Valley and New York and Israel, and helping Israeli companies grow into the United States, a lot very similar to the amazing work you're doing. I jumped at the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with the AIFL. Jeremy, you're the man. Always great to talk. And Nate, Nate's nickname is the King of Jewish Baseball. So Nate is the king over there, and excited to hear from him. But I just wanted to say thank you. And my relationship with baseball started when I was really young. I would go to Chabad, and then after Chabad, my dad would take us out to the Little League field, and we'd go out and play when I was 7. So I started back then, grew up playing baseball, went to high school, played, ended up going to a Christian university, actually, which kind of just went over my head when I was going there for a scholarship for baseball. But, obviously when I went there, it was very stark to me that I was the only Jewish guy on the team. So kind of everyone would come to me asking me questions about what is basically Judaism kind of. And I was like shocked, because most of my life growing up and where I grew up, most people knew about the religion and faith and everything that comes along with it. And so being there at that university was kind of an interesting exposure, and kind of what I experienced in professional baseball as well, with most players not necessarily relating to the Jewish faith or understanding kind of what it is that we believe in. And so that's a little bit about the backstory of my faith and growing up. But as I grew into my career, I played with the Reds, got drafted in the 4th round in 2012, came up through the system, made it to the major leagues in 2015, and ended up getting hurt both years that I was up in the big leagues. So I spent like part of 2 seasons up there, and never actually made it back onto the field. But the last time that I was able to play was this past winter in the qualifying tournament for Israel in Europe, and that pushed us into the Olympics. So have kind of come back a little bit, been able to play since my injuries back in 2016, and really excited, looking forward to next year in Tokyo as we go there as a team trying to get a medal.
University for that, and I graduated. And on the other side, when I graduated, I found that I didn't love engineering at all. The only thing that I liked about being in my major was the science parts of everything that I've learned. So all the nuclear physics, everything that was theoretical, science-based, I was very interested in. So when I first interviewed at the UAE Space Agency in 2017, I told them that. I told them I studied engineering, but I was interested in sciences. I was interested in research. I didn't want to design something that was performing in a certain way to achieve a goal. I wanted to do research and learn about something and answer science questions. And they were very happy with that. They had a small science team. We didn't have a lot of scientists here that had physics degrees and astrophysics degrees and planetary science degrees. So they were happy to take an engineer and train them to become a scientist. And that's what happened. I was hired in 2017 at the space agency as part of the science team. And I got to work on the HOPE probe. That was actually Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center project, which is a center here in the UAE that was the main operator for the project, but the UAE Space Agency.
This is an example of someone that actually did it. Winnie Langley smoked, I think, for about 90 years. And the only reason she stopped smoking was because her vision deteriorated and she started burning her nose while she was lighting her cigarette. So Winnie belongs to a group of people called centenarians, from the word century. They all live above 100 years. And these people share some kind of a genetic secret because they can also pass it to their offspring, to their kids. But all these people actually not necessarily live a healthy life. Some of them, as you can see, smoke, not necessarily, jog that often. But they all have a very healthy aging and almost a compressed period of time at the end of their life, which they start getting like more frail and then eventually die of old age. But they're very, very active. They're very sharp. They work almost to the end of their lives. And this is something that the aging community is very interested in, to figure out what is this genetic combination that allow these people to live such a healthy life.
Well, that was fun getting to watch, being on the other end of a Jeff Garlin rant live. He seemed pretty comfortable with it. And all the other sort of personalities that are maybe more recognizable. The truth is we have friends and new friends that we've made over the course of the year. And I think in these next couple of segments, Naomi and I wanted to focus a little bit on some of the partnerships that have helped enable the programming throughout the year. Not everyone who we met this year was new. Some of them are organizations that we have worked with for years at the America-Israel Friendship League. And one of those great partnerships is certainly with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the local consulates. And we started a project with them prior to COVID breaking out, where we wanted to spend more time with faith leaders and local community leaders around the country. And we just had this amazing, almost seamless experience where we moved from in-person events that were being planned by our colleague Cassia at the time in New York. And we literally moved to consulate programs throughout the country, working with our local consulate partners. So I want to share one of the episodes that for me was the most inspiring with the then Consul General in Miami, and the Miami Israeli consul helped us reach out to a number of different faith communities after a number of traumatic experiences that had happened in the community. And it really showed how being present sometime among friends is the most important things you can do, even in the most trying circumstances. And that is a thread line in the America-Israel relationship. So let's show a quick segment from that. Rabbi Reuven, normally the week or two before Rosh Hashanah is a pretty difficult, challenging, and busy time for a rabbi. So we're grateful that you're joining us with us today. You have a large synagogue, you have a large community of followers, even beyond, given some of the approaches that you've taken, I know, with social media and outreach beyond your physical buildings. Tell me how you're feeling and approaching the high holidays this year with the enormity of the issues that you've been dealing with over the past few weeks and obviously the past several months and year.
Wow, what a powerfully beautiful question, because I'm asking this question to myself for at least the last month, when we need to, for those who are not familiar what the high holidays represent in Jewish life, that's the moment that you wait the entire year. That's the moment when you confront yourself and ask, am I everything I can be? That's the moment when you ask God, can you inscribe me in the book of life? And God says, you know what? If you will take your life seriously, I will inscribe you in the book of life. If not, you're wasting another year. So this is the moment when we try thinking, what messages of comfort can we bring to those who will, the few that will come to the building and the thousands that will once again need to share services from their homes in the different devices. So thank you for the question. I will tell you a story that inspired me for these high holidays. And don't worry, because I know rabbis, they start with stories, they never end. This has a beginning and an end, and it's very short. It goes to the point that you asked me. We have a synagogue and a school. Thank God, the school is open. We open with a lot of kids Monday. But 7 months ago, the school was closed because it was the right thing to do. So I'm at the door, and I see one of our members comes with a little girl. She's 8 years old. And this is the conversation I overheard. Papi, ¿cuándo se va a abrir mi colegio? Will one day my school open again? And the father puts the face of an expert and says, sure. But she wasn't satisfied. She wanted to know when. And she said, "By Daddy, how do you know that it will open if you're not telling me when?" And he looks at her and says the following, "You know why I know the school will open? Because nothing is forever." And then I realized that nothing is forever works both ways. All the blessings in your life are not forever. The people we love are not forever. The health we have is not forever. The relationship with our kids is not the same forever because they grew up and they have partners and they bring kids to the world. So the blessings are not forever, and we should take them very seriously and touch them and feel them and love them. At the same time, COVID-19 is not forever. Now they speak about next spring, God forbid it may longer, but it's not forever. So the question is, going, Mr. Firestone, to your question, the question is, who will I be in the two dilemmas? The one that my blessings are not forever and my tough moments are not forever, knowing that I need to have eyes for those who, when I have blessings, they still need to fight for the basic needs. So a blessing will be if I can have enough eyes for them. And at the same time, the message of hope is to know that this will also pass. But if you do it in community, if you do it with other communities, and if you offer everything you have inside of you, once it passes, it will find you stronger, and you will be able to look at the mirror of life saying, I did my part in this time. Thank you.
It's beautiful. I know that a lot of us, myself included, really got a lot of inspiration and hope and comfort the last year during COVID from faith partners like these around the country. And it was very, very meaningful, especially during these hard times. I want to, again, just thank the donors who have pledged or contributed during the last several minutes, specifically Elisa Eisenman, Maxine Levy, Paula Brose, Mick Lewis, and many others. So thank you so much for continuing to contribute. I know a couple of you mentioned that you got some confirmation emails that you weren't sure if your donation came through. I want to assure you that they did. So just make sure to check your email. You should all get emails confirming that your donations were processed. And for those who send donations by check, we will thank you as well. So we really, really appreciate your support. Another partnership that I wanted to highlight was our partnership with the National Council of State Legislatures. This is a partnership that the AIFL has had for many, many years, where we send state legislatures from around the country to Israel. We were hoping to send a delegation this month, today, in fact, to Israel, but it had to be delayed because of the travel restrictions in Israel. We do hope to get that delegation up and running just as soon as we're able to safely. In the meantime, we'll have to settle for a virtual delegation conversation with our state legislators around the country. The webinar that we will highlight next specifically was commemorating International Women's Day with NCSL and their Women's Legislative Network. And on this webinar, you'll see Elsa Ben Shimon, one of our wonderful board members here in New York, speaking with her women colleagues around the country. So please enjoy.
Hello, everybody. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Cassia, Wayne Firestone, Ruby Shamir, and Giovanni Cossetti of the America-Israel Friendship League for organizing the webinar today. And also thank Jonathan Balsadeh and the entire leadership team and staff of AIFL who continue to find creative ways to promote the organization's mission to make friends for Israel, even during this pandemic, when unfortunately in-person meetings and delegations to Israel are not taking place. This webinar series, which was launched last year by AIFL, offers 2 programs a week and has been just a wonderful way to bring people together by introducing speakers from both Israel and the United States to showcase the commonalities and shared values of both countries and people from both countries. Today's program is particularly exciting. As Cassia says, we're celebrating International Women's Day, which is being marked tomorrow around the world, as well as Women's History Month. And it's a true honor and pleasure to be moderating today's webinar entitled The Climb, Women and the Legislative Ladder. As Cassia mentioned, my name is Elsa Ben Shimon. I'm a board member of AIFL. I joined AIFL 2 years ago. I'm from Israel, but I'm based in New York currently, where I'm a partner at Struck & Levin, a law firm here in New York. And as Cassia also mentioned, I did start my career years ago as a parliamentary aide at the Knesset in Israel. So this is particularly delightful. It's sort of a wonderful way to celebrate this. And we are really joined by a truly esteemed panel today of speakers. We have 2 legislators from the United States, currently serve as state senators, as well as 2 former members of Knesset from Israel. It's a real thrill to have been able to meet these ladies in preparation for this webinar, and I can't wait to hear what they'll tell us about their experiences in government. So we'll start with introducing Senator Sarah Feigenholtz of Illinois, who's also the president of the Women's Legislative Network of the NCSL. Senator Feigenholtz would like for you to just tell us a few words about your career and your climb to power.
Well, thank you, Elsa, for that amazing introduction. I was really excited to be the sitting president of the Women's Leadership Network and to be, doing this, having this opportunity to talk to women around the country and around the world, especially Israel, which is a very special place to me. I have been in the legislature for 24 years. I have just ascended to the Senate. If you want to talk about climbing a ladder, I've just been in the Senate. I was actually in the Senate for 11 days, and then bam, COVID hit. So I've been a senator in a little screen for a year. It's just delightful to be here because I think that we have a lot to share and a lot to learn. I always appreciated my learning about the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, and always sort of compared and contrasted the difference in the cultures as far as women ascending. And I think that is going to be something exciting to talk about, the kind of legislation that we sponsor, and how we are storytellers and we live our lives in a way that, my mother was an immigrant. She came to America from Russia and put herself through medical school. And so I grew up in a home, and she graduated in 1932. And that's a long story, but I grew up in a home that where my mother worked in a male-dominated profession, and she was a single mother. So I think we have a lot to share here, and I'm really looking forward to this and talk about how what we go through in our lives empower us on our way up as we try and get up. Thank you.
Now for our next segment, we wanted to share some of the faces of the AIFL team, the team that the sun never sets upon. There's always somebody awake working on something. The next episode, the next delegation, the Yachty program that we did remotely for students throughout the year. You sort of bits and pieces of all the different things that we do, the parlor meetings in different parts of the country that Naomi started early on and has now spread to different parts of the country. I saw Leah Chase from South Carolina on one of our hosts of our parlor meetings. I've seen people who have joined us for the activities at NASDAQ and the board, Gary and Phyllis Gladstein, and Bialkin, who never ceases to amaze me with her love for Israel and her continued support for this organization, and our namesake, Kenny Bialkin. So many warm connections of this organization with new and old friends. But the driving pulse for this is a team of people who make everything happen. So I want to share this quick introduction of almost everybody that we were able to get on film in advance with these short clips.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cassia Romano Anthony. I am the Director of Programs here at the America-Israel Friendship League. There's never really a dull moment working at the AIFL, and I think that our programming is as dynamic and multifaceted as the personalities that bring the programs to you. We do hope you enjoy being with us as much as we enjoy putting together our selection of programming. And we look forward to seeing you next year. Happy holidays.
Hi, I'm Tali Qumran, Operation Director with AIFL Israel Office more than 10 years. We used to bring mission to Israel, but nowadays, since the coronavirus, we hold webinars on diverse topics such as music, virtual tours, interactive activities such as Pilates, Zumba, yoga, etc. It is a lot of fun. I invite you to participate and you will get to know us and to appreciate our activities. Wishing you good health and a happy new year.
Hi, my name is Jonathan DiCarlo and I'm a community manager at Fresh Content Society, and I've been working with AIFL for about a year now. One thing I love about AIFL, besides the wonderful people, is being able to learn something new every week through their webinar program.
Hi, my name is Raquel, Executive Assistant with the America-Israel Friendship League. I have been working with the AIFL for 15 years, and my favorite part of working here are the youth exchange programs. Please consider donating to the AIFL to keep our programs going.
Hey, I'm Gal Zohar. I'm the newest in the group and happy to be part of a great organization, ready to help to create a new program for the upcoming year.
Hi, I'm Giovanni Cassetti, a project manager with the America-Israel Friendship League. I started working with AIFL almost 2 years ago and have enjoyed contributing to the development of our webinar series, which currently has an audience of over 1.5 million unique viewers. Please consider donating to America-Israel Friendship League so we can keep bringing you fresh programming.
Okay, I think now I would like to introduce to you three young men. Three young men from the Cohen family, sons of our board member, Doron Cohen. They are involved with AIFL since childhood. They were volunteering with us when they were high school kids. Now they're grown up, they're business people, and they wanted to bring their view to all of you today.
Hi everyone, I'm Ari Cohen. I'm Joe Cohen. And I'm Yoni Cohen. And we'd like to congratulate the AIFL, the America Israel Friendship League, for today's event and for all the work you do to bring together populations that all too often forget just how much we have in common. So today, please support the America Israel Friendship League and enable us to continue doing all the work that this organization does.
Well, Ruby, that was a real treat for us. That just getting to look at that view overlooking the skyline in Tel Aviv. I know you and Doron Cohen, the proud father of those three Cohen brothers, really wanted to share all the enthusiasm that came out of our 50-year celebration together. And I just want to thank you for that was a surprise to us that you were able to get the that beautiful view from Tel Aviv with all the growth and progress and prosperity that it's bringing with it. So thank you for that.
And then they're visiting Israel after a long time. They haven't been here, so they wanted to bring their view from here.
Ruby, we've had to be super flexible this year. We've had no choice. Could we do our birthday together? Could we host a delegation? Could we continue to create classes and opportunities for youth exchange through remote means when we couldn't bring people together physically? The answer to all those questions were unknowns, but we found a way to do it. I think a real tribute to my colleague who you just heard from, Giovanni, from Raquel, from Cassia, from everyone who's been involved in this Gal. And it's really been remarkable, Tali, everybody coming together in new ways. Naomi, I know for you, it's hard to do fundraising when you can't meet somebody. You can't even actually introduce yourselves to external people, let alone your own teammates. how have you managed to use this web programming and the virtual programs to make new friends, limrot hakol, despite everything?
Well, I know I joined the organization January 29th of 2020. I remember that day because it was our staff retreat, and we had all these ambitious plans for me to travel around the country and meet with people face to face, not only where I live in New York, but in many other communities. I started my first few weeks on the job going to LA, going to Phoenix, going with you to APAC in DC. We created a whole plan, and then COVID started about 6 weeks later, and we threw that plan away and we started from scratch. And we had to innovate. You know, we had to be creative, we had to be entrepreneurial, we had to think like a startup, as we always say. And we're, as you saw, we're a very, very small team. We're spread out throughout the country and throughout Israel. But we really came together. As you know, we've had staff meetings every single morning, every single day of the week. We talk nonstop on Zoom and on the phone and email throughout the day, often on Sundays, as you see today. And we, you know, use it as an opportunity. We turned lemons into lemonade and a challenge into an opportunity to reach new people. And as Giovanni said, we've been able to reach 1.5 million unique viewers over the past year through these webinars, through other programs. It's something I think none of us could have fathomed before the pandemic. And despite all of the challenges, it's really allowed us to not only keep some of our old friends that you saw today, but also make so many new friends really around the world. So it's been a really inspirational and exciting year, and I think really bodes well for the year ahead as well.
Yeah, you know, as I'm thinking about the year, and I woke up this morning to the headlines in the Sunday Times that the Prime Minister of Israel will be making a state visit to the United Arab Emirates for the first time. You know, on the one hand, this has been a long year with you know, a lot of different things that happen. But if you think about the relative speed with which we've seen developments take place, they haven't all been bad. Some of them have been Sababa. They've really been amazing. And we've even, you know, had to stretch ourselves a little bit. You stretched yourself at one point out of the chair doing Pilates. What was that like in front of a live audience?
Thank you for reminding me of that. We did promise we'd have bloopers. We're not going to show them here, thank God. But you know, Wayne and I are both graduates of Georgetown Law School. We both started our career as attorneys. Little did we know that we'd be on Zoom webinars for thousands of, you know, viewers around the world doing Pilates, doing Krav Maga, doing yoga and Zumba. So I did get to practice my Pilates a little bit more than I had planned to in this job. And Wayne is referring to one time when I was doing one of the stretches with my partner, Becky Brangstor in Tel Aviv, and I think I fell off the chair. Luckily, we did not show that live for our audience, but that was, you know, a highlight of this year for me. And I know, Wayne, you had your own blooper moments, I think, when you were doing Krav Maga in your living room. And
I think the worst I did was knock over a plant, but you know, I sort of feel the plant was potentially menacing, and so it was still within the spirit of Krav Maga. I'm more of a yoga guy, like, you know, a little bit more, you know, sort of quiet and Zen moments, and we've been able to do those as well. We've been able to really capture, I think, all of the emotions. And because that's part of understanding Israel today. You can't understand Israel merely by reading about Israel. You can't understand Israel unless you're going to sing her songs, unless you're going to try her foods, unless you're going to meet her people. And that's really what we've strived to do and will continue to do on this webinar series, as well as our other programs that we're able to in ensuring everyone is healthy and safe in doing so. So let's flash one more time. We're at the end of 2 hours, and lo and behold, you know, we have plenty of material. We could keep going, but you know, it is Sunday, and people need to get to the store to try out some of the barbecue recipes or to find some Israeli produce if possible. You can get an awful lot from Israel today, so we encourage you to do so even beyond our episode. Naomi, how do you want to close out our actually, we don't have to stop. We could keep going on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could keep going all day, but I do have to, continue with the rest of my Sunday like you do. So we will continue instead on Wednesday for a regular 1-hour webinar, Sababa Wednesday, 12 to 1 Eastern. And hopefully we'll see you all there. Please invite your friends, please invite your family. I want to thank all the wonderful comments we're getting in the chat on Zoom and on Facebook Live. Again, we have some new donors who gave in the last several minutes. I want to thank Suzanne Sepperson, our friend here in Long Island. And there's many others, Jeanette Grossman. All of you who said that you're donating, we really, really appreciate it. Feel free to continue the fun with us this Wednesday. And also thank you to our board members and donors and other constituents who joined us, whether from Toronto to Chicago to Virginia to Tel Aviv here today. We love having you with us. And Wayne, it's been fun to do this with you too, our first webinar together.
Happy Sababa Sunday to everyone. Have a great start to the week. And we look forward to sharing many more Sababa moments with you. Lehitraot.
Thank you all.